The year was 1915, October 15th. Lieutenant Robert Johnson sat in his P-38 Lightning at Elmendorf Air Base, Alaska, checking his instruments one last time. The mission was supposed to be routine: ferry 3 brand-new fighters to a forward base, 3 hours flying time over some of the most unforgiving terrain on Earth. He never made it. Neither did Flight Officer Harold Peterson or Sergeant Michael O'Brien. 3 aircraft, 3 men, gone without a trace. But 80 years later, what searchers found would rewrite everything we thought we knew about survival, about hope, and about the impossible. Static radio crackles, wind howling. 2:47 p.m. That's when Control Tower lost contact. Johnson's voice, calm and professional. Weather moving in fast, visibility dropping. We're going to try to get above it. Then nothing. Radio silence that would stretch across 3/4 of a century. The search began immediately. Military aircraft combed thousands of square miles. Ground teams battled through blizzards that could freeze a man solid in minutes. For weeks, they found nothing. Not a wing fragment. Not a parachute. Not a single piece of evidence that 3 of America's most advanced fighters had ever existed. Margaret Johnson waited by her telephone in Montana. Every ring might be news. Every silence was agony. Harold Peterson's mother kept his bedroom exactly as he left it. Michael O'Brien's younger brother, just 12 years old, stared at maps and promised himself he'd find Mike someday. But Alaska is merciless. The military declared the men dead. The case went cold. Families grieved. The world moved on. Fast forward. Satellite beeping sounds. Spring 1995. Dr. Sarah Chen was analyzing NASA satellite data when something caught her attention. 3 metallic signatures in perfect formation, buried under decades of accumulated snow and ice in a remote valley nobody had searched in 1915. The coordinates made no sense. The location was 200 miles off their planned route, in terrain where no pilot would ever attempt a landing, where no human should have been able to survive. The thermal readings were unmistakable, Dr. Chen would later recall. 3 aircraft, exactly where they shouldn't have been. Helicopter rotors thumping. The recovery expedition was brutal. Modern helicopters fighting the same violent weather that had claimed the pilots 80 years earlier. When they finally reached the site, what they found defied explanation. 3 P-38 Lightnings sat in perfect formation, wings nearly touching, as if they'd executed a controlled landing in impossible terrain. The aircraft were pristine, preserved by the sub-zero temperatures like insects in amber. But that wasn't the shocking part. Heart monitor beeping slowly. Inside each cockpit, still strapped in their seats, were the 3 pilots. After 80 years, still breathing. Dr. James Mitchell, the expedition's lead physician, had never seen anything like it. Their vital signs were barely detectable. Heart rate, maybe 2 beats per minute. Breathing so shallow it was almost imperceptible. But they were alive. The process of bringing them back was delicate. Gradual rewarming. Careful monitoring. Hour by hour, their metabolism slowly returned to normal levels. And one by one, they began to wake up. Johnson opened his eyes first. Confused, disoriented. His first words, "Did we make it through the storm?" Then Peterson, asking about the weather report for tomorrow's mission. Finally, O'Brien, wondering why his instruments had gone dark. None of them understood that 80 years had passed. None of them remembered anything after encountering the blizzard. To them, it had been minutes, maybe an hour at most. The reunions were both miraculous and heartbreaking. Johnson's wife had passed away 20 years earlier, but his grandson was there. A man now older than Johnson had been when he disappeared. Peterson's sister, now 89, held his hand while tears streamed down her weathered face. O'Brien's brother, the retired Air Force colonel who had spent his entire career in search and rescue, finally had his answer. But the questions multiplied. How had they survived? What had kept them alive in conditions that should have meant certain death within hours? The medical examinations revealed something extraordinary. The pilots' bodies had undergone a form of natural suspended animation. Their metabolism had slowed to preserve life. Their cellular activity had virtually stopped. Time itself had paused for these 3 men. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, a specialist in extreme cold survival, called it unprecedented. What we witnessed challenges everything we understand about human physiology. These men achieved what Arctic animals do naturally, a state that preserved their lives far beyond what we thought humanly possible. The unique conditions had created the perfect storm for survival. The gradual temperature drop allowed their bodies to adapt. The sealed cockpits prevented rapid heat loss. The high altitude reduced oxygen consumption. And somehow, impossibly, their bodies had simply waited. But there was something else, something the pilots couldn't explain. Johnson kept insisting he remembered voices during the darkness. Peterson talked about seeing lights moving outside his cockpit. O'Brien swore someone had been talking to him, keeping him calm. The psychiatrists called it hallucinations, the result of extreme cold and oxygen deprivation. But all three men described the same phenomena, the same voices, the same reassuring presence that had somehow guided them through 80 years of frozen sleep. Then came the discovery that changed everything. Hidden in O'Brien's flight jacket, preserved by the same conditions that had saved his life, was a piece of paper, writing on it. But not his writing. The handwriting was different, older, in a language none of them recognized. But at the bottom, in English, "They will return when the world is ready for miracles." Who had written it? How had it gotten into his jacket? The experts had no answers. The handwriting analysis was inconclusive. The paper itself was ordinary, but the words haunted everyone involved in the recovery. The three pilots are still alive today, still recovering, still adjusting to a world that has changed beyond recognition. Their story has revolutionized our understanding of human survival. Medical research into therapeutic hypothermia has advanced by decades. NASA is studying their case for long-term space missions. But more than that, their incredible journey reminds us that the impossible sometimes becomes possible. That hope should never be abandoned, that miracles, however unlikely, can still occur. And in a remote valley in Alaska, 3 empty P-38 Lightnings sit as monuments to the power of human endurance, to the strength of brotherhood, and to the mystery of survival against impossible odds. Some say it was luck. Others call it divine intervention. The pilots themselves simply say they never gave up. They trusted each other. They trusted their training, and somehow that was enough. 80 years later, Lieutenant Robert Johnson, Flight Officer Harold Peterson, and Sergeant Michael O'Brien proved that some stories don't end when the world thinks they do. Some stories are just waiting for the right time to continue. Their families never stopped believing. Their country never forgot their service. And somewhere in the frozen wilderness of Alaska, 3 men discovered that the human spirit, like the bonds of brotherhood, can endure anything. Even time itself. The science behind the impossible. What we learned. Understanding suspended animation. The survival of these 3 pilots has provided unprecedented insights into human hibernation. Scientists discovered that under specific extreme conditions, the human body can enter a state that dramatically slows metabolism while preserving essential organ function. Medical breakthroughs. Their case has revolutionized several fields of medicine. Therapeutic hypothermia treatments have advanced significantly. Research into preserving organs for transplant has been transformed. The military is studying applications for treating severe battlefield trauma. Survival physiology. The pilots' bodies demonstrated remarkable adaptation. Their heart rates dropped to 2-3 beats per minute. Brain activity slowed to minimal levels while maintaining crucial functions. Cellular damage was virtually prevented by the extreme cold, acting as a natural preservative. Environmental factors. The perfect combination included gradual temperature reduction, allowing physiological adaptation, sealed aircraft cockpits preventing rapid heat loss, high altitude naturally reducing oxygen consumption, and the psychological factor of trained military discipline maintaining calm under extreme stress. Modern applications. NASA is studying their case for Mars missions and long-term space travel. Emergency medicine has developed new protocols for hypothermia patients. Search and rescue operations now understand that survival may be possible far longer than previously believed in extreme cold conditions. This remarkable case continues to challenge our understanding of human limits and has opened new frontiers in medical science, space exploration, and emergency response protocols.